Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today, we have quite a bit to talk about in regards to Ripple and XRP. But first, I want to start with saying one thing and one thing, straight. So, for the longest time, in the crypto world, we've always heard this idea of individuals trying to time the bottom, call the bottom, whatever the case may be. And you do see a lot of charts like this and tweets like this on Twitter. And I'm not going, to name any names. I'm not even saying anything about like the Real Plan C either. We have talked about the Real Plan C in the past. I do like a lot of his base points behind things. I'm not saying that he's wrong here or anything like that either, but I'm just saying the bottom does not matter. We see individuals trying to time the bottom perfectly every single time. Even the top, right? Everyone wants to sell the exact top. Everyone wants to buy the exact bottom. Stop trying to do that. Your best friend, during times like these where, almost everyone's hopeless, no one really kind of cares about crypto anymore. You don't even want to mention it to your friends. You don't even want to mention to anybody that you are still invested into crypto. Whatever the case may be, this is the time where you want to start DCAing in. Now, DCAing in could be whatever you feel comfortable putting in on a weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever the case is. But this is the moment in time where you just want to start averaging into positions. Not going too heavy, still having a bag on the side just in case. Do I think that the bottom is in on Bitcoin? It very well could be. In fact, I would say that it is a pretty large percentage chance that it is, but there's still always that possibility that anything can happen in this market. This market is extremely unpredictable. That is why I don't care to call the bottom or the top at all. All we do know is that from these levels in this market, monumental gains will be made. And in fact, I would argue that it is life-changing wealth. Life-changing wealth to anyone is whatever amount is going to change your life. $100,000, $1 million, $10 million. It could even be as small as $100 for most people. And I would argue that no matter what it is, gains are gains. But right now is the moment in time to take a step back and not care about where the bottom is. Now, does that mean, to go heavy every single time that you go by? No, it doesn't. Wait for a nice pullback. Wait for the major dips in the market where everyone is extremely hopeless, where, the fear index is astronomically maxed out. That is what you want to buy. Fear. Do not buy when everyone is euphoric, which I did warn you guys about for the last couple of weeks when we were, pumping heavily. But with that being said, let's just dive into a few things. So former Ripple employee Bob Way speaking on what he believes the switch for on-demand liquidity is going to be. And shout out to Anders from here for this, and also shout out to XRP_Stewart for the tweet. But listen closely to this.
That's what I expect turning the switch is going to be. It's going to be connecting banks to these other payment service providers that are already using the XRapid product and going through XRP now.
And that's what the case is, right? The turn the switch event, or if you will, flip the switch event, it's going to be connecting banks to these other payment service providers that are already utilizing the XRapid, or if you will, the on-demand liquidity provider. And when we look at this, we are kind of seeing that unfold at this current moment in time. It is also extremely important that we do see a lot of these service providers, or PSPs, if you will, moving in on that and connecting these major banks to it, which we have been seeing with Tranglo, with, Volante, with a few other major names as well, like Finastra. And I just want you guys to also understand that a lot of the partnerships that we do see with Ripple is an NDA that's been in place for a while. Even, Brad Garlinghouse said, it does take about 6 to 9 months just to negotiate a new bilateral banking relationship, not including testing and trials. People wonder why it has taken Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple the amount of time that it has taken them to position themselves as the unicorn in this space. And listen closely to what Brad does say here.
And I say, well, do you have a correspondent banking relationship in the Philippines? And you say, well, no, I don't. And so your option is to spend months negotiating. Literally 6 to 9 months is the average time to establish a new bilateral relationship. And I say, well...
And not only that, but also think about the legality process. You got to think about the regulatory bounds that they are working in as well. Even with the current, Brazil partnership that we just seen with the Travelex Bank, they were talking about, following the regulatory stance on it. And it does take a while. You guys got to remember that there's still a lot of NDAs. There's still a lot of partnerships out there still yet to see the light of day because of, again, NDAs, the entire process here. It is a 6 to 9 month process just alone. So we will most likely see a lot more unfolding going forward, and I'm very excited to see those major announcements. And shout out to Cowboy Crypto 131 for that. Also, here's another video. This might be a big surprise to everyone. This goes back to September of 2020. So roughly almost 2 whole years ago. Shout out to XRP_Crow for this, but we do see Swift doesn't solve the fundamental problem. It doesn't enable settlement at the time of payment. Listen closely.
And Swift, it seems, has responded to what Ripple is doing. How does their new technology, the response that they've created, compare to what Ripple's doing?
So they changed they sort of pressed on their customers to credit payments more quickly, and they added an acknowledgement at the end of the payment. So it used to be fire and forget. Now they send a message back from the end when the payment's acknowledged, and that does address some of the pain points that people had. But I think there are a couple things it doesn't address. So one of them is it doesn't enable settlement at the time of payment. So if you think that that's an important thing, it kind of attacks our sort of submarine strategy of like, we'll give you a better payment system, and it can settle at the time of payment. But even if you don't care about that, it's still a better payment system. So I mean, obviously the bidirectional messaging and everything, it's still a better payment system, but like if you can take away the major pain points, maybe that sort of attacks our strategy of saying we're going to take away your major pain points. So we'll be like, well, we can take away some of those pain points too. But it doesn't fix the fundamental problem. It's kind of like, like if a music company tried to combat the iPod by like dropping the price of CDs or making them hold more data or something. Like the fundamental problem is the settlement.
And I want you guys to understand what he does say that. The fundamental problem is the settlement. This is also why I said that at the end of the day, we will see Swift utilizing Ripple's technology stack. I know that seems like a stretch for some people, but think about it logically, right? This is also a company that's connected to 11,000 of the 44,000 banks worldwide. That is a substantial amount. That is 25% of the banks worldwide. Now, do I think that Ripple at some point in time will grasp all banks? Meaning, will PSPs basically be the bridge where we do see Ripple's, network with XRP moving over them, connecting all of these banks to one? Will that be a possibility? It is, but it is a little bit of a stretch, and it's going to take a long, long time. And I would argue that probably in most individuals, decades or their lifespan, they will not live to see that light of day. And I would argue possibly my, lifetime, I probably wouldn't even live to see that. Because again, right, 6 to 9 months to negotiate these, major banking relationships. It is a time frame that is pretty substantial. But how could we cut down on that? Well, going through those PSPs where we do have Finastra or Tranglo that are connected to, 1,000 banks, 8,000 banks, because Finastra has exposure to over 8,000 banking clients, credit unions, etc. That drops that time frame drastically to near instantly. So you could achieve a very large percentage of the banking clients all at once. If Swift does utilize Ripple with XRP, that cuts out a ton of time. It cuts out a ton of argument points behind NDAs, legality issues, and things like that. And it will have Ripple, in regards to the tech stack with on-demand liquidity, being utilized at the core of a massive network connected to 25% of the banking clients. And we actually do see over here, shout out to Anderson again. I remember Bob Way's former Ripple employee words about banks utilizing a new system. It was more or less, no bank wants to be first, but all banks want to be second. Banks are conservative, and so there's always a risk by utilizing a new system. Something could go wrong. So they rather wait and see that it works. But if other banks start using a new system that's more effective, they need to implement it as fast as possible to not lose customers. Remember, this is the major domino effect. Remember, like when we look at this, right? One bank, seeing the value behind something like the Ripple network with XRP could domino effect into hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of banks signing on to Ripple's network all at once. This new Ripple system. And we actually do see down here, apparently that ship sailed a long time ago. Banks were already utilizing Bank of England and Bank of Saudi. Now, they are just waiting for the right time to launch. And we actually do see it down here. This is from Digital Perspectives. Brad Garlinghouse, this is certainly the beginning of a marathon, and we have a long way to go. We're incredibly proud to say Bank of England and the Central Bank of Saudi Arabia is a customer of Ripple, and they are, effectively a global reserve currency if you believe it. If you believe it. I thought that it said if you believe it, but it's all good if you believe retweet. But listen closely to this.
I said earlier that this is certainly the beginning of a marathon. I'm incredibly pleased that we've passed the starting line, but we have many miles to go. The two products that Ripple has been in market with the longest are called xCurrent and xRapid. xCurrent is a solution that allows banks from a point-to-point basis to settle transactions in real time. Instead of transactions that today go through a series of hops in the correspondent banking system that can take days to complete and the cost is significant, we're able to complete a transaction in seconds between two regulated financial institutions. So first I'll explain, there is Ripple the company, and Ripple sells technologies, Ripple sells solutions to banks and financial institutions around the world. And there's XRP, a digital asset that we use as part of that system, but we do not control XRP. As evidence of some of the work Ripple has been doing with regulators, policymakers, and governments around the world, we're incredibly proud to say that the Bank of England, the Central Bank of England, is a customer of Ripple's. We're proud to be able to say that Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, the Central Bank of Saudi Arabia, is a customer of Ripple's. We're going to continue to work with central banks, with policymakers globally, to make sure there's thoughtful regulation as this entire industry matures.
Do you think that the existing issued 100 billion XRPs will be enough to cover once the xRapid server?
And also, I love that question right there. Do you think the 100 billion XRP is enough? That's probably the first time that you've ever heard that question asked, because most people say, do you think that the 100 billion XRP is too much? But the thing is that if you actually look at XRP becoming a global reserve currency, is 100 billion really enough? But listen closely to the rest of this.
Scales to a global full scale, or would there be a shortage?
Well, so when XRP was created, this actually was created before Ripple existed. The creators of XRP decided there'd be 100 billion units because they saw it as rather than having a smaller number with a very high price, they saw it as something they wanted to be effectively a global reserve currency.
Some things that I can't do, right? I can't give names to people like that, we've transacted XRP with, because that's not, there's NDAs and there's confidentiality agreements. So there are limits to how much we can say in terms of institutional buyers, if we sell any, if we buy any. There are some things that I can't do, right? I can't give names to people like that, we've transacted XRP with, because that's not, there's NDAs and there's confidentiality agreements.
And again, right? Like, there's a lot of NDAs, there's a lot of things that they just cannot discuss. But also, XRP, there will only ever be 100 billion of it. They can't really discuss too much about it. But I do think that Brad Garlinghouse basically does let it slip a little bit, where he does say, like, the end goal of it was always to be a global reserve currency, not from Ripple's standpoint, but also from, like, the creators of it, which, we kind of talked about who the creators are. We kind of discussed a little bit on, like, kind of speculative basis on who those individuals actually were. But the end goal here is for XRP to be a global reserve currency. Like, that's the end game. Now, what is the timeline behind that actually happening? Is it going to happen? We don't technically know, and I'm not going to speculate fully on that. But if there was a crypto that does have the potential and the power to do so, it would be XRP, because of the on-demand liquidity mechanism, where it could be sourced as, liquidity on demand. It is a big use case. We've talked about this. I think that a lot of people actually undermine that as a use case. A lot of people say, like, oh, well, the XRP utility case behind it is really kind of nothing. Or they kind of blow it off and say XRP is utilized for liquidity for, Ripple CEOs to sell it and get rich. It's a scam coin. It's this, it's that. And I guarantee you right now, if you go down in the comments right now, there's probably going to be, those meme comments where they say XRP has been a scam since, so-and-so, or XRP is the biggest scam, or this, that. XRP is never going to move. But the thing is that those are the people that will be left behind. Those are the people that will miss the boat. And those are the same people that will say, yeah, but, and just kind of make excuses. We always see excuses being made, even with like Bitcoin, right? There's so many haters around Bitcoin because they just simply missed the boat. We will see the same thing happen with XRP as well. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on if you guys have more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. So it's up to you all. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful night, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. It's been Nick. Peace out, guys.